Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Catch Up English Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Daniel. We're so glad you're joining us today as we dive into answering the question, tell me about yourself.
Okay, so let's just unpack this right away because, we have all been there. You're at a social event, right? Maybe it's a networking party or
maybe it's your very first day at a new office.
Yes, exactly. You're holding a cup of coffee, you meet someone new, they smile, they shake your hand, and then they say those 5 terrifying words. Tell me about yourself.
Oh man, it's the ultimate panic moment, isn't it?
It really is.
Like even in your native language, your mind just goes completely blank. You suddenly forget basically everything you've ever done.
Totally blank. We were actually looking through our notes for today's deep dive, and there's this hilarious but honestly very relatable example in there.
Oh, the party one.
Yeah. So someone was at a party, a stranger asked them to talk about themselves, and they were just so nervous they just blurted out, "I am a human."
Which, to be fair, is technically true. But it's probably not the best way to start a new friendship or land a job.
No, probably not. And here's the thing. When you're learning a new language, that panic is multiplied by 100.
Oh, absolutely.
You aren't just worried about what to say. You're worried about the vocabulary, the grammar, your accent. So our mission for you today is very simple. This deep dive is designed specifically for you, the English learner. We're going to give you a really simple, stress-free recipe for introducing yourself.
A recipe that actually works.
Right. We want you to sound natural. We want you to avoid sounding like a textbook robot. And along the way, we're going to explain some incredibly useful, authentic English phrases.
Yeah, we're going to take it step by step. The sentence structures we'll share today are accessible, but they're incredibly powerful.
But before we even get to the vocabulary, I think we really need to talk about why this question causes so much panic in the first place.
That's a good point.
Because it's not really a language problem, is it? It's a psychological one.
That's a great observation. The reason tell me about yourself is so scary is because it's just, it's too open-ended.
Right?
It's the paradox of choice. You have your entire life story, your childhood, your career, your family, your hobbies.
It's overwhelming.
Exactly. When you're given a totally blank canvas, your brain freezes because it literally doesn't know where to start.
And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about what the other person is actually asking for. We tend to think it's an interrogation.
Yes.
Like we're being tested on our life achievements or something.
Exactly. But here's the real aha moment you need to keep in mind. When someone asks you to tell them about yourself, they aren't looking for an autobiography.
Right.
They aren't judging your whole life. They're actually just looking for conversational hooks.
Conversational hooks. I love that phrase. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, they're searching for a shared connection. They just want you to throw out a few pieces of information so they can say, oh, me too. Or, oh, I've always wanted to know about that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Once you realize that the question isn't about evaluating you, but rather just helping the other person find something to talk about, almost all the pressure just disappears.
That shifts the perspective entirely. You aren't defending your life choices. You're just offering a menu of topics to chat about.
Exactly. A menu.
Which brings us perfectly to our 3-part recipe. Because if we need to offer a menu, we need to know exactly what items to put on it.
Right. And you definitely don't want to start by listing your exact age or your favorite color or
political views.
Definitely not that. So the source material outlines a fantastic foolproof map, and it's built on 3 core concepts: hometown, background, and hobby.
Okay, let's explore how this map works.
Yeah.
First up is hometown. This is simply the city, town, or country where you were born or where you grew up. It's your geographic roots. But why is geography the best place to start?
Because it's universally understandable. Everyone comes from somewhere, right? It instantly grounds you in physical space, and it's the easiest hook for someone to grab onto. Even if they've never been to your hometown, they might know something about the food or the weather or maybe a famous landmark there. It's a safe, friendly starting line.
That makes total sense. It gets the ball rolling. So hometown grounds you geographically, but people also want to know how you spend your time, and that's the second piece, which is background.
Right.
Now, when we say background, we're usually talking about your personal history, like your education or your current profession.
Think of background as the headline of your professional life.
The headline.
Yes, like the headline of a newspaper. When you pick up a newspaper, you don't immediately read every single word of every single article, do you?
No, of course not. You just scan.
Exactly. You scan the front page to see what catches your interest. Your introduction should do the exact same thing. You're just giving them the headline of what you do.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second, because I struggle with this idea of just giving a headline. What if your work history is incredibly messy and complicated?
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say I spent 5 years working as a barista, then I sold shoes for a year, and right now I'm studying marketing. But I also walk dogs on the weekends just to pay the bills.
Right.
If I just say my background is in marketing, I feel like I'm hiding the truth. Like, is it really okay to just gloss over huge chunks of our lives like that? It almost feels dishonest.
That's a really valid concern, and a lot of people actually feel that way. They feel they have to list everything, to be honest. But remember, an introduction isn't a sworn testimony in a courtroom.
Right.
It's an invitation to connect. You aren't lying by omitting the barista job. You're just curating the newspaper.
Curating the newspaper. Okay, I actually really like that.
Yeah, you want to guide the conversation toward the things you actually want to talk about right now. If you're currently studying marketing and that's your passion, make that the headline.
Makes sense.
If the other person wants the full story of your time making coffee, they'll ask for it later. You're saving them from having to process this messy resume right at the beginning.
That is a massive relief. It really takes the pressure off feeling like you have to explain every detour your life has taken.
Exactly.
So we have hometown for geography, background for the professional headline, and finally, the third piece, hobby. Something you do purely for fun, not for money, not for a career, just for joy.
And this is the most crucial part of the recipe for making a real connection. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to just talk about work all night.
Definitely not.
Sharing a hobby makes you a three-dimensional, relatable human being.
It's what makes you memorable. The source material actually gives a really great example of this. It outlines a scenario with a graphic designer who moved from Italy to London.
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
But what really sticks out isn't his job. It's that he loves making lasagna and hiking on the weekends.
Exactly. I might completely forget what company he works for, but I'm going to remember the lasagna. It gives this perfect balance. You get professional competence mixed with personal warmth.
Okay, so having this 3-part map, hometown, background, hobby, it's a fantastic foundation. You know exactly what to say. But translating those topics into natural-sounding English is where the real magic happens.
Yep.
This is where we need to address the robot problem.
Oh, the robot problem. It is very common. When we learn a language, we tend to learn very formal, grammatically perfect sentences that nobody actually uses in casual conversation.
Right. Like, I'm from Italy, I'm a graphic designer, I like to cook.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's grammatically flawless, but it sounds like an automated customer service line.
It really does.
So let's look at the exact authentic phrases our Italian graphic designer uses to sound like a local.
Yeah.
When he talks about his hometown, he doesn't say, I am from Italy. Instead, he uses the phrase, I'm originally from Italy.
And that one word, originally, it completely transforms the sentence.
Really? Why does it work so well?
Well, think about what happens when you just say, I'm from Italy. It's a closed loop. It's just a state of fact. The other person just says, oh, cool, and the conversation stalls.
Oh, I see.
But when you add that one word, originally, I'm originally from Italy, you've suddenly introduced the concepts of time and movement.
Oh, wow. Because it implies a journey. It basically says, I started in Italy, but my story didn't end there.
Exactly. It practically begs the other person to ask a follow-up question. They're going to naturally ask, oh, really? So what brought you here? Or how long have you been living here?
That is so true.
It turns a dead-end statement into a conversational bridge.
That is brilliant. Just adding originally creates a bridge. I'm originally from. Okay, so what about work? Because he doesn't say, I am a graphic designer. He uses a different phrase. He says, my background is in graphic design.
And my background is in graphic design is probably the most useful professional phrase you can learn.
Because it goes back to that headline metaphor, right?
It does. It's incredibly elegant.
Yeah.
Because it detaches your identity from your current 9-to-5 job. When you say, I am a graphic designer, you're making it your whole identity. But saying, my background is in graphic design sounds much more experienced and broad. It covers your education, your past jobs, your skills, all in one neat package.
It sounds so much more sophisticated, like my background is in customer service or my background is in finance.
Absolutely.
It feels very safe, too. If you're currently between jobs or maybe looking for a career change, you don't have to awkwardly explain your employment status. You just state what your background is.
Precisely. So now you have, I'm originally from, and my background is in. These are your core structural phrases. But we can push this even further.
Okay, how?
Well, once you have that basic structure, you can upgrade your vocabulary to sound even warmer and more fluent.
Yes, let's talk about fluency upgrades. Because sounding natural isn't just about the words you choose, it's about the energy behind the words. For example, let's look at talking about your current job. The basic textbook version is, I have a job as a teacher.
Which is completely stiff. The immediate upgrade is simply, I work as a teacher. It's shorter and much more active.
I work as. That's so much better. But what if we want to sound really comfortable like we've been speaking English for years?
Then you can use the present perfect continuous tense. Now, don't worry about the grammar name. Just focus on the rhythm. You say, I've been working as a teacher for 3 years.
Let's pause and let you, the listener, practice that. Say it with me and notice how the words kind of flow together. I've been working as a teacher.
Notice how she didn't say, I have been.
Right. It's not I have been, it's I've been. That contraction is key to avoiding the robot voice. People in real life use contractions constantly.
Contractions are the absolute secret to sounding relaxed. I've. They instantly soften your tone.
Okay, let's apply a fluency upgrade to hobbies. The simple version is, I like art.
Again, correct. The bit cold. The upgrade is, I'm really into art. Or, I'm a big fan of art.
Oh, I use I'm really into all the time. It conveys so much more enthusiasm than just I like.
It really does.
When you say I'm really into something, it tells the other person that this is something you genuinely care about, which invites them to ask you more about it. Let's try it together. I'm really into hiking.
These upgrades are excellent. Now, let's look at a phrase that you use to ask the other person about themselves. The standard textbook question is, where are you from?
Right. And the upgraded version of this is incredibly friendly. Instead of where are you from, you can ask whereabouts are you from? Or my personal favorite, where do you call home?
Oh, where do you call home is a beautiful phrase. Think about the emotional resonance of the word home. It's so much warmer than just asking for a geographic location.
It really is. So if we step back and look at these upgrades, I'm really into whereabouts, I've been working as. Why do these small changes matter so much? Is it just about showing off our vocabulary?
Not at all. It's about psychology. Using casual, idiomatic phrases shows the other person that you're comfortable. And emotions are contagious.
Oh, that's true.
If you sound stiff and formal, the other person feels like they're conducting a job interview. But if you use relaxed phrasing, it signals to them, hey, we're just having a friendly chat. It relaxes the listener.
It totally changes the vibe of the room. But here's the catch. Having the perfect, natural English vocabulary is really only half the battle. Because how you physically deliver those words is just as important, especially in English-speaking cultures.
That's a crucial point. Communication is mostly nonverbal. You can have the best script in the world, but if your delivery is off, the introduction will fail.
So let's dive into the cultural insights from our sources, starting with timing. There is a very important unspoken rule here. You need to keep your introduction short. Ideally about 30 to 60 seconds.
Remember the newspaper headline. You aren't reading them the whole article.
But wait, I have to challenge this. 30 seconds feels incredibly short. If someone asks me to tell them about myself and I just stop talking after half a minute, won't they think I'm blowing them off? Or that I don't actually want to talk to them?
It feels short when you're timing it in your head, sure.
Yeah.
But in a real conversation, 60 seconds of uninterrupted talking is actually quite a long time.
Really?
Yeah. Think of an introduction like a tennis match. You don't want to just stand there hitting the ball against the wall by yourself for 5 minutes. You want to serve the ball over the net so they can hit it back.
That's a great way to visualize it. You give them the hometown, the background, and the hobby, and then you just stop so they have a chance to react.
Exactly. But while you're serving that ball, your body language has to be sending the right signals. The two big rules in Western cultures are smiling and making eye contact.
Okay, I really need to talk about the eye contact thing.
Huh.
Because, honestly, it can feel absolutely terrifying.
It can be very intimidating.
When you're speaking a second language, your brain is operating at maximum capacity. You're searching for the right verb, you're stressing over pronunciation. For a lot of people, looking at the floor or looking up at the ceiling actually helps them concentrate. Staring directly into a stranger's eyes while you're struggling just feels overwhelmingly intimidating.
That is such an important point, and it's a completely valid feeling. Linguistically and psychologically, looking away reduces your cognitive load. You're trying to shut out visual information so you can access your vocabulary bank. It's a natural instinct.
Yes, exactly. So why force the eye contact if it makes speaking harder?
Because of how it's interpreted culturally. In English-speaking cultures, eye contact isn't just about attention. It's a proxy for honesty, confidence, and engagement.
Ah, I see.
If you look down at your shoes, your brain might be saying, please hold on, I'm translating a word, but the listener's brain is interpreting it as this person is avoiding me, they're hiding something, or they just desperately want to leave.
Oh, wow. So it's a massive mistranslation of body language.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to stare unblinkingly into their soul. That's weird too. Just maintain soft, friendly eye contact. Look at the bridge of their nose if looking directly in their eyes is too much.
Oh, the bridge of the nose is a great trick.
Yeah, and combine it with a gentle smile. It builds trust instantly, even if you stumble over a word or two.
That's so forgiving. They care more about the connection than your perfect grammar. And that brings us to the final, most important step of the whole process, the handoff.
The two-way street.
Right. You've given your 60-second headline. You've smiled, you've made eye contact. You cannot just stand there in silence. You have to pass the ball back over the net. And you do that with 3 simple words. How about you?
How about you? Or, and what about you? It's so simple, but it's the key that unlocks the rest of the conversation.
It really is.
It proves that you aren't just there to monologue about yourself, you're genuinely interested in them.
It's the perfect conclusion to the recipe. So let's summarize the toolkit we've built today. When someone says, tell me about yourself, you aren't going to panic and you definitely aren't going to tell them you're a human.
You're going to remember that they're just looking for conversational hooks.
You're going to use your 3-part map: hometown, background, and hobby. You're going to use natural bridges like I'm originally from and my background is in. You'll throw in a warm phrase like I'm really into. You'll keep it under a minute, maintain friendly eye contact, and gracefully pass the ball back with, how about you?
Knowledge is only valuable when it's applied. So we have a specific challenge for you, the listener, right now. Don't wait until your next networking event to figure this out. We invite you to practice this today.
Yes, absolutely.
Create your own customized introduction using this exact formula.
Write it down. State your name, where you're originally from, your professional headline, and one thing you're really into. You can write it in a notebook or, honestly, say it out loud in the shower or in front of the mirror.
Out loud is best.
Muscle memory matters in language learning. The more you say it out loud to yourself, the more natural it will feel when a stranger actually asks you.
It's all about building that conversational muscle.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. We talked a lot about the anxiety of speaking English and how body language plays into it.
Yes, that tension between what your brain needs to translate and what the culture expects.
Right. Well, think about how your posture and your expressions might change when you speak English compared to your native language. Could adopting a slightly more outward, smiling, eye contact heavy English persona actually help trick your brain into feeling less nervous?
That's a fascinating concept, the idea of embodied cognition.
Exactly. It's like putting on a confident character. By consciously changing your physical posture to match the cultural expectations of English, like standing taller, smiling more, you might actually signal to your own brain that you're safe and confident.
Which ironically makes the vocabulary easier to find.
Yes.
It's definitely something to experiment with. Sometimes acting confident is the very first step to truly feeling confident. The physical act creates the mental reality.
I love that. The physical act creates the mental reality. So get out there, put on your English persona, and share your highlights. Thank you so much for catching up with us today. We can't wait to hear how your introductions go. Keep practicing those natural phrases.
We'll be here to guide you through the next topic. Until then, keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep exploring.